Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode, another verse of my Healing Waters vlog. I want to thank you guys for clicking onto this video. For those who do, I appreciate your presence, your energy that you lend um, to me when you watch my videos. Um, I am grateful. Um, Even though I don't get a lot of views on these Healing Waters videos, I do them more so for me, um, and in hopes that the things that I share can impact or affect someone in a positive way. So, for those of you who do watch, my intent is for you to experience your own personal healing. Do nothing without intention. That is one of the things that I say and I believe in my core is to do nothing without intention. So everything that I do on this channel, there is a specific intent behind it, and it is for healing for all parties involved, including myself. Excuse me if I sniff a little bit or a lot of it throughout this video. I have been under the weather all week. Um, so bear with me. I also um, may be a little emotional today in this video just based on the content. So bear with me if I do. Um, I guess I should just start by saying this video will be the realest shit I ever spoke publicly. Um, I had planned on doing this video today on ancestral veneration. I had planned on speaking about lineage and roots and ancestors and how we interact in this realm with them in another realm. However, excuse me, y'all know I have my tea. I thought about sipping wine for this video, but I'm going to wait until after this video to fix a glass of wine because I need the tea now to soothe my spirit, calm my mind. But I will pour me a glass of wine or two after this video. Um, I have my favorite mug. You guys know I love this mug. Um, um, yeah, so I had planned on doing this video on a whole another topic today, but as I prepared notes and meditated a little bit, I realized that the reason why I got the idea to do it on ancestral veneration was for a completely different reason. Um, it was more so a message for me and the message that I was preparing for you. And when I tuned into that message, I received the message and then I began to do the work, the self work. Um, I know I speak a lot on a lot of things, and I speak from a place of knowing, a place of assertiveness, and a place of authority. And that's because I only speak on things that I do have the authority to speak on, the ability to speak on assertively. Um, so if I'm talking about, or if I'm giving advice about doing anything in regards to healing, it's because I do the work myself. I take accountability for myself, and I never advise before I've done the work and known it to be tried and true. So I began to do the work based on the message that I got, and something told me to do the video. Even though the work isn't complete, do it now from a place of vulnerability and transparency, because this is a part of your work, Adina. This is part of your work. This is a part of your healing. Um, is transparency and vulnerability. And while transparency is not that difficult for me, vulnerability is. Um, because I've always been someone who keeps my deepest emotions and feelings and thoughts hidden within myself, as a way of, I guess, I thought I was um, protecting myself from pain and trauma and people. So I felt like if I keep my the things that make me feel vulnerable hidden, then I won't be hurt. However, doing that at this point in my life is no longer protecting me. It's no longer serving me any good. It's hindering and hurting me, especially as I am going through a period where I'm being forced to heal and transform and shed old skin. Um, all week, I've been getting messages from other people and signs and synchronicities and all kinds of things of letting go. My North Node is in the 12th house, and that is a house of letting go. It's a house of many things. Um, Letting go, as well as spirituality, as well as our own self undoing, our self sabotage. So I have a few planets there, and my moon is there. 12th house is also a house of the subconscious. So the message in that is to let go of your hidden and secret emotions, because they are what is self-sabotaging you. They are your undoing, your own undoing. Um, so, excuse me, this tea always, either the tea makes me burp or the videos make me burp because of my nerves. And the tea is made to calm your nerves. So I'll say it's a little bit of both. So excuse me. Excuse me, guys. I couldn't wait until my sinuses fully cleared up to do this video. Um, so y'all just gonna have to take me flaws and all today. If I step away, it's to blow my nose, and I may pause the video to do so. However, I'm gonna try to thug it through. So this video is going to be probably the most transparent that I can be. So the most transparent that to date I have ever been, publicly. Um, and I was told to do it this way: show the world the real you, the real you. Um, and I can only hope that this will free me. Um, so, my video last week was on the solar eclipse in Gemini, and I mentioned that the effects of this eclipse will be felt for the next 1 to 3 years. So just because the eclipse happened last week or on the 10th doesn't mean that the work that it started has finished. It's almost just begun for some people, and I started it last week, and I thought it was, I thought for me it was done. I thought that it was pretty much shut and dry what the eclipse meant for my life. However, as the days and weeks went on since then, and I continue to meditate on myself and my own growth, I realized that I needed to go to a place where I didn't want to go last week. I touched on something that I wasn't ready to speak about. I touched on the fact that I wasn't ready to speak about my seventh house, my house of partnerships and relationships, dealing your intimate dealings with others. That is your seventh house. Um, Partnerships, that relationships, meaning romantic and otherwise. Um, so I'm gonna pause this for a second to blow my nose. Just hold on, guys. Okay, I'm back. I had to blow my nose so that I wouldn't be sniffing all over the place. But as I was saying last week, I got to a point in the message last week where I almost had to touch on my seventh house in order to really work through the message that the eclipse was showing me, but I wasn't ready to go there. However, I can't, this eclipse came in order for the work to be done. And if I'm going to do it in this public way, I can't say, okay, guys, well, I'm not ready to talk about that yet. I have to. So, in the vein of the solar eclipse that happened last week, I mentioned that it had a lot to do with, for me, my second house and my eighth house axis, because that's where the eclipse took place in my second house of value. Um, Monetary value, the things that we own and the way that we value these things. And the second house obviously comes after the first house of self. So if the first house is the house of self, the second house would have a lot to do with the way we value our most important asset, which is ourself. And the house across from the second, which is the eighth, has to do with things we acquire from others, assets and money and things that we acquire through our dealings with other people. Because if the first house deals with self and the second house deals with how we value ourselves and things that we acquire on our own, then across the street in the eighth house, above that would be the seventh house of partnerships. And then the eighth house would deal with things that we acquire from those partnerships and how we value them. So if my second and eighth house are being activated through the eclipse, then it's going to directly impact the houses in between those, the first and the third, and the seventh and the ninth. So I can't really discuss, or I can't process how I'm supposed to grow from that eclipse if I neglect to deal with the houses that border those, because they're equally affected. So I mentioned last week that the eclipse is dealing with me and the way I value my assets, my most important asset, and the things that I own. And my most important asset is myself. Your most important asset is yourself. And I knew, however, it was a superficial knowing. I wasn't really ready previously. I wasn't really ready to really dig into it. My lack of value for myself. Um, and I just have to say that I am in the place of realizing just how much that lack of value of self has negatively impacted my life, my personal assets, the way I value other people's assets, and my relationships. And I'm a Libra sun. My Venus in Libra. My South Node is in Libra. And my ascendant is in Taurus. And all of those are ruled by Venus. So everything Venusian is very, very much a part of me. Love and relationships play a big part of my life, because it's through those concepts that I learn a lot about myself. If my ascendant, meaning my first house, is in Taurus, then that means my relationship house would be, or my descendant is in Scorpio. So that tells me that um, relationships are how I see myself. They are the mirror to me, or everybody actually, because everybody's first house is across from their seventh house. But depending on the sign that rules that house, which is usually Libra, but my Libra is in my sixth house. So, um, depending on what sign rules that house, or is on the cusp of that house, is going to be how relationships with others influence you. Mine is Scorpio, which means that I need to look at my dealings with others as a way of shadow work, a way of transformation of myself. And that has been the story of my relationships. Um, it My relationships have always been a direct reflection of the things that I need to see within myself, but I can't. My relationships are also, unfortunately, how I based my self worth. And there's a reason for that, but I'll get to that in a second. So, I didn't really write any notes for this, so this is freestyle. Um, I guess I should preface what I'm about to say um, by sending a message to my family. Um, because I know that since I've started doing these public videos, and since I have been going through a period of transformation, I currently have Uranus in my first house, and that would mean that I'm going through a serious transformation. Um, and it may look like, to other people that know me, it may look like, what is she going through? What is going on with her? Um, And it is that way. It's that way for me. But I know what I'm going through. Um, so I have to preface this by saying the things that I have been expressing lately, um, I feel like they have been taken as if I have a grudge or um, animosity or some kind of anger towards my family. And I anticipated that when I started doing my public readings, when I started not being afraid, or I would say challenging my fear of expressing myself. I knew that that was going to, my family and the people closest to me were going to start looking at me like I was crazy and taking offense to some of the things that I was saying because it's my truth. However, I need to say that you know, no matter how you perceive the things that I express about myself, I love you. You are my family. I love my mother. There are just things that I need to shed while I heal. And my third house is ruled by Gemini, so I need to start. Chiron is also there natally, so I've held a lot in, and I would say that I've always held things in because of you guys. Um, because I have a habit of protecting the people that I love, even if they contributed to my pain and my damage. And the only way for me to free myself is to speak transparently and to be vulnerable. So I almost, deleted all of my family off of my social media because it's like I can't do this if you guys are going to continue to try to hold on to the old me that I'm trying to shed. Because you guys have a habit of holding on to outdated beliefs and habits. And there's not many people who are willing in my family who are really willing to do real shadow work. And there's reason why you can't. Um, but what I'm doing is more about me and not about any of you. I don't want you to think that by me speaking my truth, I don't love you and that I have a beef. And if you perceive my truth as a slight towards you, I apologize up front for the way you feel. But I have feelings too that I've always kept hidden. So it's only strange now. It only seems like it's crazy because I'm finally letting it go. And I've always been someone who is ride or die for the people that I love, no matter what damage that they do to me. But it's been at the detriment of myself, and I am choosing myself. I am choosing to hold me down now. So I learned to not love myself in my early childhood. I learned that who I was born was not good enough from my family, from my, not from my family, I take that back, from the beliefs that my family held. And I'm speaking about my maternal side of the family, not really my paternal side because they had less of a controlling influence just because my father went to prison when I was about 7, so I spent more of my day-to-day life with my mother and her family. So my maternal family is extremely religious. Back in the day, I mentioned it before, as most families in the South or in this era of in this Piscean age, religion or Christianity is the ruling religion of this past age. And everybody is usually afraid to speak anything that is perceived to be negative about Jesus and the Lord and the church, because it's just like we've been instilled with so much fear um, that we're afraid to really acknowledge what we really think and what we really feel and ask the questions that we've always wanted to ask, that we've been told to not ask and just don't question and just have faith in things. However, for me, it did a lot of damage because I had already gone through some trauma, and I was born, as we all are, we were already born righteous. Um, I've always been a very spiritual person um, that did not start recently, and it was more pure as a child. I was born with a very great relationship with the divine, with God. Um, and I never needed anyone to come in and teach me that. I never needed that. However, one of the first things that I remember about being taught in church was that we were all born in sin, and we were born not good enough, and we wouldn't be good enough until we asked for Jesus Christ to save us. And until then, you were hell bound because you were an evil sinner. And if you spent all of your life without accepting Christ into your heart, without accepting Jesus as your Lord and Savior, you would die and go to hell, because who you were when you were born was not good enough. Okay. I don't know how it impacted everyone else. I can only speak for the impact that that had on me, but it set the tone for how I saw myself. Because, as I said, I already had a working relationship with Spirit. We talked every night in my dreams and in my visions, in my meditations, because these were things that I did as a little girl. It was already undiluted when I was born. So when I learned those things, it made me feel a way. I remember. I remembered the way it made me feel. And I remembered the way it made me confused about myself, because I did not feel like I was evil. As a matter of fact, after church at night, when I would be laying in my bed, I would go to God and I would talk to it about the things that was said. I would ask, or I would say, I don't feel evil. I don't feel like we talk. Like I love you. I love you, and I feel like you love me. I think you do. I think you do, because we're best friends. We talk every night. I go to sleep and I see things. I can sit here and lay in my bed with my eyes closed. I didn't even know I was meditating back then, but I would see things, angels and things like that. So I couldn't understand what what was still wrong with me. So every night as a child, I would repent of my sins and I would ask for salvation. Every single night, I would ask to be saved. Most people go and do it at church, once when they're a child and they get baptized and, maybe sometimes later in life. But my relationship with the divine, with God itself, was always the most important thing in my life from as young as I can remember. And I remember being 3 years old. I remember being 5 years old. And that was the most important thing of my life. So every night I would pray to be saved. And every day in between then, dealing with my family, as religious as they were, we were always, even outside of church, because my uncle was a pastor, we would always be reprogrammed all throughout the week. And as sensitive of a spirit that I had, I took everything that they said spiritually to heart. And so that set the tone for me feeling like who I was born was not enough and not good enough. And I always had to work hard to become acceptable. This is where I learned my lack of self-worth, because I learned in my early childhood that I was born in need of someone else to approve of me and to say that I was worthy of heaven, of peace, of mind, of love. Um, and it hurt me to know that as much time as I spent in my own time with God, that it still didn't make me worthy. So I spent the rest of my life trying to become good enough, and never feeling like I was, trying to find my sense of worth in someone else, because who I was on my own was not good enough. Um, I got teased a lot about the way I spoke. You speak white, you think you know everything, da, 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 da. And it's just like, I just can't, I can't. I felt as a child that everywhere I turned, there was a reminder that I wasn't good enough to be. I talk too proper. So now I have to try to show, you know, that I'm not so stuck up or bougie. Um, and that thought pattern is how I learned to not value myself and not value the things that I have that were given to me, or that I acquired. One who is not grounded within themselves, one who is not stable and secure rooted within themselves is not going to be able to experience stability and security in the material world. My root chakra was completely unbalanced, and that is your base chakra. It sits at the base of your spine. It is your root. Mine was obliterated. The sexual abuse that I encountered as well in my early childhood from a relative, a cousin, Chiron in the third house. When they would be finished with me, they would leave me on the floor and they would look down at me and say things like, "That's why nobody likes you in the first place." Um, so I never told because I didn't want to be the one to ruin the family. So I kept it hidden. I kept it secret so that I could get along and be accepted by my family. Um, and I thought I was doing the right thing, but it was hurting me because I was internalizing all of that pain and confusion and feeling like I can't even speak my truth because then I'm going to be even more not good enough, even more rejected. So even my silence was so that I would be deemed worthy by someone else, by my family, by my peers. So as I got older and started to be interested in boys, I would go out of my way to become who I felt like they would want to keep. Um, I didn't really have boundaries. I spoke about losing my virginity last week, and that was even due to my lack of self worth and my lack of boundaries because, had I had more self esteem, I would have been a virgin until I met my husband. Let me pause this again. Okay, I'm back. Had I had more value of myself, I would have been a virgin until I was 18 and um, got with my husband because there was nobody that I dated seriously in between then. He was my first real relationship. The first person that I loved in an intimate way. And, you know, when we are unhealed, we attract relationships that are reflection of whatever unhealed trauma that we have. So most of us are walking around in trauma bond relationships or karmic relationships because, and that's why we have series of boyfriends and girlfriends and things like that, and nothing ever seems to work out. It has less to do with the other person because usually they are there in order for you to see yourself, see your descendant, your shadow side. But it's easier for us to deflect and blame the other person than acknowledge the fact that we entered into a relationship with our own consent. Something about them at the time that we entered this relationship with them was attractive to something within you. So you can't really be angry at a person for behavior that they display in a relationship because they hurt you, because they were meant to hurt you, so that you could see the root of that pain is within you. It's not really your fault that you're in pain necessarily, but relationships, first house and seventh house, deals with yourself and another person. They are mirrors. They're right across from each other. You're supposed to be able to see yourself in that person. So if you're in a relationship and you're healed and healthy and happy, usually it's because you within yourself are whole and healed and happy within yourself. This is why self-love has to come before you enter a relationship with someone else, because that's the only way that you will reflect or attract a healthy relationship. And even if you end up with someone who isn't healthy or happy, you'll have no problem with letting that person go without any bitterness or animosity, because you'll just understand, hey, you're just not for me, and that's fine. You're for someone else, but I'm good, I'm whole, I'm happy, and I release you to do you. Um, However, most of us have a lot of unhealed trauma and wounds. So that is what our relationships are going to reflect until we start to take the opportunity to look at ourselves deep within our shadows and see what's in there and then heal from it so that you can attract a reflection of you. When you're healed, you'll attract someone healed. So my husband, we were together for 13 years, from 2006 until we separated in 2019. And I was broken. I thought it was the end of my life. I had no idea how I was going to survive without him. And I had decided that I was never, ever, ever, ever going to open myself up again. I thought, okay, I'll deal with people. I'll date. I'll have sex. But I will never open my heart again, ever, for anyone. Um, and the reason for that is because my my relationship was my outlet to love. I had someone who I could just pour all this love into that I had no way of knowing how to give it myself. I actually I was a little bit conscious of the fact that I didn't love myself. So I just thought, what's the harm in giving it all away to someone else in hopes that they would then, in return, give me the same. Um, and that was conditional love. If I give you the best of me and I got good shit, I have a really good heart and I got a lot of other stuff. So if I give it in all its glory to this man, then he'll give me the love that I can't give to myself. Not at one point in our entire relationship did I ever get the full amount back that I gave. Yes, he loved me, but not enough. It wasn't the love that I desired, and it wasn't the love that I deserved. And I spent a long time waiting for the moment that he would see my full value, that he would see me as the best thing that ever happened to him. That didn't happen, at least not while we were together. It might have happened a little bit afterwards, after we separated and I, started healing and released him. Then it changed. Then it was just like I never realized what I had until it was gone. And that's because I had started healing. Energetically, we weren't trauma bonded anymore. I took my power back. However, um, in that relationship, I was saying that I gave, but it was conditional because I was giving with the hopes of getting that love in return. But I was so broken at the end of our relationship because the relationship ended. And it never was supposed to, because my love was supposed to be sufficient. It was supposed to be the best thing that he'd ever had. And I'm sure that it probably was. But that wasn't the purpose of us being together. The purpose of us being together was so that we could separate. Our purpose wasn't fulfilled until the day that we separated, because it broke me in half. And then after I dried my eyes, then I started to look at what was inside of that broken vessel. It was only until then that I decided to look at myself. And I realized that there were some things there that needed work. So I began that work. However, I was like, I thank Terry for showing me that I needed to heal, but I still had no idea that by me saying that I would never love again only meant that I closed my heart off, because I felt like I wasn't appreciated for the love I gave by him. But in reality, I was saying I didn't want any more relationships because I was afraid, subconsciously, I was afraid that I would continue to attract people that would hurt me. And at the time, I didn't even realize that it's because I still did not love myself. So what happened was, a year later, I met someone that I was not looking for. I was healing. I was in a good place. I was in business for myself. I was serving others. And, I was good. I had met a good friend, because I had even closed myself off from friendships. I just felt like I don't want to deal with people anymore, because I had been hurt by friendships in my past. So I'm just like, I'm tired of not being valued by other people. Tired of not being valued by other people is the key. But then, I started working at a place that I had worked at previously. And actually, I was working at that place previously when I had made a friend that betrayed me. So that was, I was like, I'm never going to work and meeting another friend, creating a friendship with a coworker, because of the way the first instant turned out. So I had even acquired a new friend from work whom I love dearly. Shout out Val, my work wife and my soul sister. But she was encouraging me to, completely let my marriage go and all of that stuff. And I had met someone who I paid no attention to at first. But one day I looked at them and I saw everything I ever wanted. And I'm not talking about in a physical sense. I saw someone and I thought, this is my future. This person is, you know, when we envision the person that we might want in our future when we're younger, our dream person, my soul felt like this person is it. My eyes were pleased, but it was something in my spirit that was like, that one, that one. And I fought it tooth and nail for months. I would tell my friend, I want this person, but I don't want them. Something in me wants this person, but I don't want nobody. You know what I'm saying? It was the most conflicting situation that I've ever been in, because up here, I was resolved in the fact that I am never doing this again. But why does this say otherwise? I would think about this person every day, all day, at home. And then I would pray, remove this demon from me. Remove this demon from me. I don't want to want anyone. I couldn't help myself. I couldn't. Um, and the more I tried to fight it, the more it drove me insane. And then one day, this person, um, in passing, said something to me because I thought, okay, well, I just have a secret crush on this person that I'm trying to get rid of. But as long as they, barely acknowledge me in that way, other than a friendly hello, then I'm good. I can resist it. But one day this person said something that alluded to the fact that they might have a little bit more interest than hello. And I said, fuck it. It was like I can't fight it anymore. And it was almost like when this person dropped that little seed, it was like, okay, maybe I should take this step. So I did. And through my interaction with this person, I had the most beautiful and the most painful experience to date. I think it wasn't as painful as the separation from my husband, but it was painful in a way that it ended up forcing me to. So if my husband was the trigger that began my healing, this person is the one who brought me into the place that I am in now. If it wasn't for what this person triggered in me, I would not be here right now. I wouldn't be doing healing waters. I wouldn't be doing my live readings, trying to help people, trying to help the spirits get peace. Um, I wouldn't be on this journey of shedding my old skin and actually doing the shadow work. I met my shadow. They call it twin flame. Everybody's looking for a twin flame because they think, oh, you're going to meet your twin flame and ride off into the sunset. No, a twin flame is going to be there to show you your own self, to show you what's in your soul. And that's what this person did. Not intentionally. They didn't intentionally inflict any pain on me. This person was one of the most beautiful, beautiful souls that I have ever encountered. But due to the circumstances of our relationship, so to speak, because it was never a serious relationship, neither one of us was in the place to um, give each other that. But just through our friendship and our interactions, they made me look at myself. And it wasn't until they triggered pain in me that I said, okay, enough of this, enough pain. What is in me? Not you. Because with my husband, there was a lot of he did this, he didn't value me and all of that. And that may be true, but let me look at myself and the part that I play in this, because nobody should have this much power over me to make me feel unworthy. Nobody should have the power to make me feel like I'm not good enough. I shouldn't give anybody that much power. So that is on me. That is on me for giving people that much power. So when they started triggering that in me, I said nothing to them. I didn't get mad at them. I didn't curse them out. I didn't blame them. I went home and I would do the work in myself. I would look at what they triggered in me and then I would dig into it. Why do I feel like this? Why? Why? Not why them, why I? Um, and I mentioned the dream that I had last week where I saw myself in a mirror with this person. That's that mirror that I was talking about. And it was at that moment that I realized what this eclipse is bringing into totality, that I did not value myself. And every relationship that I've been in my life was a reflection of my lack of self-value. My boundaries never existed with people because I thought that if I have boundaries and if I charge what I'm worth, then I'm going to be alone forever. And one would think, well, what's wrong with being alone? Not lonely, but what's alone and being lonely are two different things. But the problem for me was that I didn't love myself. So I got to get it from somewhere. And I got it from other people. Or at least I was trying to get it from other people. And all I ever got was abandonment and hurt. And it's because I was trying to get love that I didn't have myself from other people. So I would shower these people with the best of the best that I had to give, hoping that someone would look at me and say, this person is the most valuable thing I've ever seen. Look at what they give to me. Trying to find my value within someone else. Second house, eighth house, first house, seventh house, third house, and ninth house, because that was my belief from childhood. But through them and then this eclipse, my beliefs in my third house that I had from childhood grew up. And the ninth house is on the other side of your third house, because your third house are the beliefs that you acquired early in life, and then the ninth house is the higher octave. That is now your adult thinking. So for my seventh house to be in Scorpio, my relationships are meant to help me see my shadow side. And in my seventh house of Scorpio, there is Mercury and Pluto. Now, Mercury rules Gemini, my second and third house. So if the way that I value myself and the way that I think about myself are ruled by Mercury, which is in my seventh house of relationships, then the way I value myself and the way I think of myself are ruled by my relationships, which is why Mercury is in my seventh house of Scorpio. And Scorpio and Pluto, Pluto is also in my seventh house, in its own home of Scorpio. So it is through relationships that I can be transformed, that my value of myself can be transformed, and the way I think about myself can be transformed. The good and the bad are in my seventh house. However, it was my last encounter with this person that brought that transformation into completion. And that person taught me unconditional love, because that person is what is bringing me to love myself. Um, I never got the love that I gave back in return from this person. Like I said, we were never in an official formal relationship. And this person was aware that I loved them, but I never got it back. And the reason for that is because they were sent to make me love myself. It was almost like I was shooting arrows at a closed door, but they were returning back to me. Those arrows were love, and now they're returning back to me. So this person is almost the best thing that ever happened to me, because if it wasn't for them triggering me, I would not have gotten to the point where I was ready for this eclipse to come and really show me, yes, yes, you did not value yourself, but now you do. Now you acknowledge that, and now you can learn how to do so. So, although this person triggered pain in me, they did not break my heart. If anything, they taught me that I am the shit, that I have so much love to give, and it's so warm, and it's so beautiful, and it's so intense. Okay, my seventh house is in Scorpio. So the love is intense, and the love below is intense. My relationships are very intense and passionate, because that's Scorpio. It's intense, it's full of passion, it's deep, it's not superficial. Um, and this person helped me see that. And they helped me see how beautiful I am. Not because they call me beautiful, but because they help me realize all of this good love that I'm trying to give away. Why don't I feel it for myself? You know, when my separation happened, why did I feel like I'll never find someone to love me again? Why wasn't I thinking, I'm good. I love myself, so I'm okay, whether I have someone or not. I thought I'd rather be alone because love just doesn't work for me. But the problem was that I didn't have love for myself. I didn't value myself. And I couldn't attract someone who really did because I didn't. Like I said, relationships are mirrors. So there's no way that I could attract someone who truly valued me until I truly valued me. This person taught me that. And for that lesson, I will forever love them. Because as I said, they never intentionally inflicted any pain on me. They were beautiful. And I still, hold them in a very high regard because they taught me to see the goddess in myself. And after that, I began to see the divine in everyone. Despite flaws, they taught me unconditional love. They taught me to look at myself. And when I looked at myself, I realized as I started to dig to the root of why I don't love myself. Because that's a question. Once you can acknowledge the issue, now you can ask, where did it come from? You need to ask where it came from so that you can uproot it. Okay? You need to dig up that root and get rid of it. So I needed to get to the root. And when I got to the root, I got back to my third house. I just held up a two. My third house. My beliefs that I learned in my childhood. Now that I've dealt with my second and eighth house, my third and ninth house, my beliefs. I mentioned at the beginning of this video where I learned through religion that I wasn't good enough. So my ninth house and your ninth house is usually the house of religion. Because generally, I believe the ninth house maybe. I'll have to see what the traditional ruler of the ninth house is, but mine is Sagittarius, and the ninth house deals with higher thought, philosophies about life. So as I said, the third house is going to be what you learn in your childhood, and then the ninth house is going to be your philosophy now that you're an adult and you can think for yourself. My ninth house is in Sagittarius, as well as my eighth house. And both of those, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, which is in my 12th house. And I mentioned that my North Node and my Moon are in my 12th house. The house of spirituality, the house of subconscious and hidden things, as well as your own undoing, self-sabotage. Now, my 8th house is also a house of hidden things, which is why it's usually a house of occult, because occult don't mean witchcraft, it means hidden. Hidden. That's all it means is hidden. So the 8th house deals with things that are hidden. The 12th house deals with things that are hidden within the subconscious. My 8th house is ruled by Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, which is in my 12th house. Both of those deal with hidden things, hidden within oneself, hidden within one's subconscious. So, and also my ninth house is also in Sagittarius. So my beliefs, my higher beliefs, that deal with spirituality are being affected by Jupiter. Now, here's where we get a little tricky. My Jupiter is in my 12th house and it's retrograde. That is indicative of karma. So, a lot of the things that I believe have to do with things that were passed down to me. They weren't necessarily my own beliefs, they were someone else's beliefs, beliefs of my elders and my family, which is why I said they are karmic, because they were passed down through my family. But they weren't necessarily my own. So my spiritual beliefs have a lot to do with what I was taught in my third house. However, I've always had my own spirituality, but I've never really been able to enjoy the benefits of them, Jupiter, because it's a beneficial planet. It brings luck, it brings blessings and all of that. But mine is in my 12th house and it's retrograde. So I haven't been able to enjoy it in its entirety because the things that I believed, the things that I was taught religious wise, that became my belief system, became my undoing, which is why it's in my 12th house. Now, Neptune is in my ninth house as well. So, and the ninth house also has to do with religion and church. So, the story to wrap that up means no shade to Christianity, no shade to the teachings that we inherited in my family. There was some good. However, they became my undoing. They became my self sabotage because it taught me that I was not good enough as a human being, as the way I was born. And those thoughts became my undoing. They caused a lot of self sabotage. So I haven't been able to enjoy a lot of the benefits that I would enjoy in life, a lot of the blessings that I'm meant to inherit, because those beliefs created so much dysfunction within myself that I've spent the most of my life self sabotaging. Even my eighth house is ruled by Sagittarius, which ruler is Jupiter. So even assets that I acquired from other people, I self sabotage because of my beliefs and my lack of value. My sense of value has been skewed due to coming into this world and being told that I was born a sinner and I needed salvation and I needed someone else to come and save me. So, no wonder why I've been waiting for somebody else to come and show me my value, to come save me and make me worthy. It wasn't until I took my power back and realized that it's nobody's responsibility but my own that things started to change for me. And this eclipse that just came solidified that lesson for me. It brought it full circle. I had already begun doing that work, but this eclipse, the light of the sun and the moon shining on my second house and my eighth house and my first and third and seventh and ninth, just made it even more clear that I was right. I was on the right path. And here I am, approaching my 34th birthday in October. And it's like I'm looking forward to being able to enjoy the blessings of Jupiter now. Ironically, Jupiter is about to go back direct because it's currently retrograde. So when it goes direct in July, at the end of July, I believe that things are going to change for the better for me because I've done the work. I acknowledge the things that I needed to acknowledge. Like I've been doing shadow work for the past 7 years. Thanks to the series of relationships that I've been in that have ripped me open and forced me to do the necessary work. So even though Jupiter in my natal chart is retrograde, it doesn't mean that I'm never going to be able to enjoy Jupiter. It just meant that I would do it later in life. If it was direct, I probably would have been experiencing things different all of my life. However, I'm at the later in my life now. I'm in my 30s. I'm in my mid-30s now. I've done my Saturn return. I've done so much work on my self-worth through my relationships that now I realize, that I no longer believe that I was born into sin. I no longer believe that something was wrong with me, that I was evil, Even my spiritual gifts, they're still considered evil. There's someone in my family that I love dearly that told me, "You've let the darkness in." Absolutely. Because in the beginning, there was darkness that hovered over the sea. There was darkness. And out of that darkness came light. Okay, so without darkness, there is no light. Because light has to be able to illuminate something. And if the whole house is lit up and you turn on a lamp, what is it going to illuminate? There's no darkness. So you need to go within your shadow side to see. And then you become illuminated. Yes, I let the darkness in. You have no idea. Even all the ancient civilizations were dark, but they brought illumination to the rest of the world, honey. Okay? Black civilizations brought illumination to the rest of the world through our wisdom, through our spirituality. So I don't see anything wrong with myself and my black ass beliefs and my black ass spirituality because we have spent all of our lives, and I'm talking to my family now, in white ass spaces. We grew up going to white churches. My uncle was the pastor, but his co-pastor was a white man, and we were the only black faces in our church. We listened to white ass gospel music. My grandmother loved white ass Benny Hinn, and now it's white ass Joel Osteen. You know, as long as it was white, it was right. I've had a I've had a relative, an elder of mine, when I was asking them about our family lineage, because I wanted to dig into our roots. They told me verbatim, I have nothing to do with our lineage because I am of the family of Christ. I have nothing to do with our lineage because I am of the family of Christ. And then went on to explain to me actually why they preferred their white brothers and sisters in Christ. My heart was broken, but I expected it because they were the reason that we were always in white ass circles. So excuse me if I let a little bit of darkness in, but also understand that you cannot kill what's in you. You can't kill your lineage. You can't whitewash it away, no matter how hard you try. And thank God for my paternal side of the family, who was always black, black, and blickety black, who exposed me to black culture, had me doing black pageants and writing poems, reciting poems from Maya Angelou, and my grandmother um, who was the head editor in chief of her own black ass newspaper here in Marion County, the one and only. So it was almost night and day for me growing up. I would leave my father's side of the family with my kente cloth and go to my mother's side of the family where we would be surrounded by people with raisins in a potato salad. A figure of speech, but um, I'm not ashamed anymore. I have shed those beliefs because I was born with my own relationship with spirit. I didn't need y'all to come in and indoctrinate me because it did damage. It did damage to me. So here I am, healing and healed. Um, I have forgiven myself for not valuing myself. And as a return, I've lost a lot material wise, financially. Because, like I said in the beginning of the video, if you aren't grounded and rooted and safe and secure within your being, you will not be able to experience any kind of material safety and security. Because your body is your material safety and security. And as above, so below. As within, so without. So whatever is going on in here is going to be reflected around you in your material settings. I now value myself. So now I act accordingly. I do things for myself. I erect boundaries that I need. If I don't want to talk to someone, or if I don't want someone in my life because they are harmful to me, I'll cut you out. I don't care if you're family. I don't care if you're a friend. I need my peace. And I'm not compromising that anymore because I no longer need someone else to validate me or to love me. I wear my robes and such. I know my work wife asked me or made a comment about me wearing my robes in my video. And her husband was thinking, excuse me, had to blow my nose again. But her husband was thinking that, well, no wonder people watch her videos because she's in her bra and her robe. I don't do this for y'all niggas. I live in my robes. I buy lingerie for myself. If I don't need to go outside of this house, if I don't need to be in public, the most I'm going to have on is a robe because that's what the fuck I like. It's who I am. So when I record these videos, sometimes I don't bother to, oh, I'm about to go on camera. Let me cover up. Y'all gonna get Dina the way Dina is. Because I mean, when I'm doing these videos, I'm looking back at myself and I want to see. Yes, I want to see me in my robe. With my, yes, I do this for me. I have drawers full of lingerie and I don't have no man. But I bet you I wear it because it makes me feel good. And I spent a long time not feeling good about myself. So if I'm going to be vulnerable and share my truth with y'all verbally, I'm going to share my truth with y'all. This is Dina in her robe. Take it not as a way to attract anyone, because I ain't really checking for y'all like that. I'm good. I am good. I'm good right now. Unattached, not dating anyone. My phone is dry. No one calls me. No one texts me outside of, people that I read for, people that I work with, clients, things like that. Other than that, like, I'm good. And I've never felt that way before. But that is just a reflection of the fact that now I have turned all of that good loving that I used to want to give to somebody's son so that he would love me back and value me. I am giving it all to me now. I deserve that good love that I was never able to get from anyone else, because the key and the T was always to give it to me first. You got so much good love, Dina. You are so worthy. You are so worthy of the best of the best. And if you feel like you have the best of the best to give it to yourself. Give you some of that best of the best. If you think you're a trophy wife, be your own trophy wife. Which is why I dress up for myself and I show up for myself. And it's like now, if I ever did enter another serious relationship, oh, excuse me, guys, you're going to have to prove to me now that you can afford it. I'm not talking about monetarily, but ain't no more trying to prove myself to someone else so that they'll acknowledge my value. I know it. Now you got to prove it to me that you deserve the best. This is how it should be if you love yourself. This is the way I've always wanted to feel. I always wanted someone else to make me feel this way. I always wanted someone else to say, she is worth me working for. She is worth me paying the price for, whatever I gotta pay. I was reading, in closing, I was reading some article about a former beauty queen in Nigeria who, when her husband, who was, I believe, a ruler, a leader somewhere in Africa, maybe not Nigeria, but somewhere in Africa, when he wanted to marry her, her father made an outrageous dowry. He told him to go and pay in a currency that no longer even existed anymore. So this man had to go and find places where this currency, this ancient currency, he had to go and find it, and lots of it, in order to marry this man's daughter. And you know what? He went out and found that old ass uncirculated currency, and he paid the price for her. And the purpose was, he was a wealthy man already. Whatever price that I put for you, he could have paid it without a second thought. But he needed to know that you were the most precious. And he needed to work hard to pay the price for you. That hit me in my gut. It brought tears to my eyes because I grew up without my father. But I believe now, because we have a good relationship now, that had he been in my life, it would have been the exact same thing. First of all, I probably would have never, my husband would have never been able to be in my presence because I wouldn't have had that lack of self-value. But second of all, my father would have been like, you 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 can't talk to my daughter. This is my firstborn. Okay. You can't talk to her. Next. So it hit me because I always wanted to be valued like that. And I was just like, I almost felt cheated not having my relationship with my dad. I felt cheated out of somebody saying, listen, y'all, men, I know y'all out here sniffing around, but you can't afford her. Show me that you can afford her. I felt cheated out of that. But I'm taking my power back now. I'm 33, almost 34. So now I set that for myself. So I'm sorry if you've been someone who has been in my Facebook inbox or, and there have been a few of y'all checking for me. That ain't how it works anymore. Maybe if you'd have called me a few years ago, I might have been willing to sell myself short for you to recognize my value. But now, nah. Um, not it. Y'all don't even know what y'all asking for. You ain't ready. When I am with you, and this is, it sucks that I really gave so much of this goodness away because I'm such a blessing, you know, spiritually wise. I speak life, you know. I make peasants into kings just by activating their left and their right hemisphere in their brain. I can look into you and see all of your potential, and I know exactly what to do to nurture it and raise it up out of you. Um, she is the empress. She is the high priestess. She is the goddess. I say it in my music all the time, and it's not because I'm delusional. It is because, first of all, I know what is in my blood. I know what lineage I come from. So if I call myself a goddess, I'm speaking literally, and figuratively. I am meant for a God. And that's what you have to display to me. I need to see the God in you before you get here. Because I am no longer in a place where I am willing to give all of myself away. And not because I want something back in return, but because now I know my value. You don't go into Chanel and see a 50% off or everything must go sign. You will never, you will never be able to walk into Anna Wintour's office and tell her you want the newest spring collection of all the good shit, but you want it half off. You might be killed on the spot. Sips tea. You have to already be at a certain status, first of all, to get in the store, and two, to be able to buy something in there. So, this is what I learned about myself, that I had been struggling so hard for somebody to see value in me and love me, that I was willing to give myself away, hoping that someone else would validate it. And now I'm going to give it to myself so that nobody else can have that power over me. I'm thankful for all of the hard lessons that I learned. I'm thankful for my ex-husband. Nothing that I said in this video should be any shade or anything like that towards him, because he knows. We've talked. He knows that we served each other's purposes. I hope that he learned the lessons that he was supposed to learn from me, because I definitely learned a lesson from him. And the person who I said came along after him and changed my life is the person who gave me this mug. I speak about him all the time. I mentioned that he saw something in me, unstoppable, she who cannot be stopped. He saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself. And through my interactions with him, I am having this conversation with you all now. So I just shared you guys my most vulnerable secrets. And that was the fact that until recently, I've never loved myself. I've never valued myself, and I have been willing to, and not just willing, but I had been giving myself away to people who should have never been able to tie my shoestrings. Sorry, not sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Into my family. I don't want you to take this video as saying that, it's your fault, because none of this is anybody's fault per se. This is me taking responsibility on my own. When I was a child, I may have been taught things that were harmful to me, but now that I'm an adult, I don't have to. I can choose to unlearn and relearn. I can choose to now believe what I believe. And that's what I'm doing. And I just want the respect to be able to do that because I respect everybody's beliefs. I don't think that they're wrong. If they still serve you, I'm all for it. If they still do you good, I'm all for it. I will pray with you, you know? Our beliefs are not apart from each other. Most of you just have to get to that level of understanding that a lot of the practices that you shun and try to whitewash away out of our blood, out of our history, out of our lineage, all the melanin that you try to whitewash away doesn't make you any less righteous than being in the culture of whiteness. Because, honey, they had no concept of spiritual matters until they came into the darkness. I am the spiritual beliefs that they emulate. We are our inherent gifts and abilities that run in our family. These gifts, prophetic dreams, clairaudience, clairsentience, clairvoyance, those aren't gifts that came because you went into church and got dipped in the water. They were in your blood. They were in your melanin. They are already in your DNA. And you don't need anybody to validate that for you. Just like I didn't need anybody to validate it for me. And tell me that they were evil, because that's what I was taught when certain people in my family start noticing. They were quick to call it evil. And it made me very self-conscious, and it made me do things undercover. So what you see me doing now, I've always done. Like I said, I've been doing readings for years, just undercover, because I still wanted to fit in with you guys. I wasn't ready. Now, she is. I am. And there are no apologies for it, because I already knew what God required of me, and that God was already pleased with me from the moment I was born. God was pleased with me the moment I was formed in my mother's womb. And I had no other concept of not being good enough or not being worthy until I got here and learned it from you. So I forgive you for the things that you didn't even know that you did. And I forgive me for the things that I didn't know that I was doing to myself and others, and anyone that I hurt in my relationships because I didn't value them. It's because I didn't value myself. Or if I overvalued you and put too much responsibility for my lack of self-worth on you, I ask your forgiveness as well, because it was never anyone's responsibility to validate me or to love me other than my own. The person who I said gave me this mug, the person who changed my life, you know, I seek their forgiveness because I expected them to acknowledge me. My husband, you know, like, it wasn't you guys' responsibility to make me see myself or make me love myself. That was mine. And I hope that you can forgive me for putting that burden on you. because that isn't love. You can't make someone love you. You got to love yourself, and then, you know, deal with the people who want to love you and who already see you the same way you see yourself. You can't force someone to see you a certain way. And that's what I was doing. So for anyone I've ever had any kind of relationship with, whether it be intimate, a friendship, or even a family ship, forgive me, because whether you knew it or not, I was waiting on you to validate me. I was waiting on you to love me. And I did you no justice by removing all of my boundaries, because you had something to learn through your reactions with me as well. But if I wasn't being true to myself, you couldn't really learn your lessons from me. Now that I am being true to myself, I hope now you can be free to learn your lessons. We're all free, because I have cut the cord. I release you, just like I released me. So, with that being said, thank you guys for taking part of the realest shit I ever spoke, because it is my most vulnerable. I have cracked open my first house, my house of self, and let you guys see my flaws. I've let you guys see, I did this in my robe. I did this while I was still sick. And I let you guys know that I've never loved or valued myself. And that's something that I always wanted to remain hidden in my 8th and 12th house. But since this eclipse happened in my 2nd house, my 8th house is triggered as well. And so things that I tried to keep hidden are being shaken up to the surface. And I hope that God is pleased with me. I hope that my ancestors sitting here watching me, because I keep them above my bed. Grandma Florence, Grandma Dean, and Granddad. I hope that everyone is pleased, because I am pleased. I'm finally pleased with myself. And I love you all. I want to close in saying that, to my family, I love you. I love you. The good and the bad. I don't love you because we're family and I don't have any choice. I love you because I'm just full of love. She is Venus in the flesh. I said that in my music too. I made a whole mixtape called Venus. You guys should listen to it. My music, I put so much juju in my music. Y'all have no idea most of the time what you're listening to. Not saying that it's bad, but like if you listen to my lyrics, if you can get past the poor quality, because I don't have the money to have the production that I would love to have, but if you listen to my lyrics, lessons, life lessons, things that I've learned and experienced, spiritual lessons. I put my hands on it now. Y'all, my left hand, y'all know I say my left hand is my power hand. I put shit in my music, do nothing without intention. So everything is made with intention. Mm. I am full of love. So, like I was saying to my family, I love you because I'm full of love. To the people who are watching, strangers, I love you. I love you because you're here, and you're not here by accident. There is no such thing as coincidence. There's no such thing as an accident, at least not when you're dealing with me. Everything is divine appointment when you're dealing with me. So if you stumbled across this video and you're still watching an hour and 50 minutes in, you need to hear this. I love you, and you are worthy. You are worthy of me telling you I love you, honey. God loves you. All of God creation loves you. And the evidence of that is the fact that you are here listening to this. You need to know that you are worthy of the best love, and I'm here to give it to you. So I love you. Yes, you. Don't question yourself. Is she talking to me? Yes, I'm talking to you. I love you. And with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I'm ready for wine, a few glasses. So I'm going to go have some because I love me and I deserve more than one glass of wine. And I'm going to go and have it in my robe and in my good bra, my good lingerie. Bye, guys.